More than 2,000 victims of domestic violence come to Montgomery County courts each year looking for protection. What do they get? Coming up next on Connecting Our Community. Stay with us. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Connecting Our Community. I'm Karen Allyn. Laurie Duker is the co-founder and executive director of Watch Montgomery. That is an organization that goes into courts to observe the procedures in court and the judges and to determine if victims of domestic violence are getting a fair shake. And that's a broad term, a fair shake, but how they are treated in court, do they need help, understanding, and how they fare along the way. And this is an organization that is run by volunteers mostly. So, Laurie Duker, thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me, Karen.
I can't say enough about Watch Montgomery. I think it's brilliant. I think there's no way that we can actually watch what's going on in court. A lot of this is private, of course, but for anyone with any sense of fairness and justice, from the sense of treatment and process, as well as attitudes on the bench. So here you are, and I think you're gifted because of it.
Well, thank you. We have a lot of fun, and we've seen a lot of changes in the courts that are really exciting.
And we need a lot of changes, don't we?
We do need a lot of changes. The judges have tough jobs. These are very hard cases, protective orders and peace orders. The judges have to make important decisions with a little information in a short amount of time, but there's a lot we could do better. A third of victims come to court one week and say they need protection and then don't come back. And the question is why? And what can we do to keep those women safe? Because they're really at increased risk once they decide to come forward.
Now, your organization put out a report, and the judges, to their credit, looked at it and said, we can learn. They're open to that, at least.
Yes, exactly.
What kind of things did the report say that we need to know?
Well, at this point, we've done 4 reports. We've looked at district court and circuit court, and I think the biggest things right off the bat were some national best practices identified by judges after an exhaustive 3-year study, and they said it's important for the judges to do certain things to keep women safe. The biggest one is staggered exits. We need to hold the offenders in court so women can get to their cars safely.
I mean, you're just talking being in court, that day in court. They are afraid to leave. I can understand that, because they might be assaulted, victimized, abused emotionally or physically on the way out.
Exactly, and can you imagine if that happened to you? You would not be likely to come back to court for your next hearing.
Absolutely.
We've talked to women who, one woman who was harassed by her husband right at the bottom of the court steps, followed all the way to her car. He wouldn't let her in the car. Another young woman whose boyfriend tried to run her over with his car. These are very emotional, tough proceedings. People come out disgruntled. It's just basic safety that you would separate the two. The judge has just given a no contact order. He said there's to be no contact. Well, let's follow through with that and ensure there's no contact by keeping the offenders in court for 15 minutes. It's really not a lot to
At least that, however, the no contact thing, it's to us out here in La La Land, I guess, it sounds ridiculous, because that person's already an offender and a violator, most likely. Allegedly, but most likely, and that woman's already afraid, so he's going to go home and not contact her? That doesn't seem like, it's a paradox in the way of these criminals thinking. Well, abusers, offenders, criminals, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah. Usually if there's a no contact order, the offender's removed from the home, not allowed to go to the home, so there can be no contact that works, although sometimes when they're exchanging the kids, that can be a real problem.
Yes.
But actually, protective orders work the great majority of the time.
Okay, that's good to know.
It is good to know, because I think they have a bad reputation, and of course sometimes women are tragically killed and they've gotten a protective order. But as long as you do a good safety plan with the protective order, they're very effective. And even when there are violations, they reduce the severity of the violence, they reduce the frequency, and a lot of women who have orders, even that were violated, say they'd do it again.
Yeah, that's good, because at least it's a step.
It's the only step we've got, really. Rather than shelter is short term, and it's very disruptive to life. And a legal protective order is really the thing that's going to keep a woman going, be able to take your kids to the same school, keep your job. Again, they do work most of the time.
Right. Well, when you said shelter, you meant for the woman,
Yes, for the victim.
not locking up the guy, because that would be, of course, impossible. I get that, but it's a fine line.
Well, that's definitely for some offenders. That's the only safety plan is filing criminal
Right.
charges and making sure he is locked up.
Right, that is, and often they're released on their own recognizance, or they make bail, or whatever. Maybe I've just read too many headlines, because that's what we see in the paper is so-and-so tried to get a restraining order, and he stalked her and killed her. I mean, unfortunately, those make the papers, and that's what we read a lot, so I may be a little bit skewed. But it is, just being in court is frightening enough. You also help people that need interpreters or some other form of assistance, whatever their need may be.
Yes.
Language, for example.
So we send 50 volunteers into court, and they monitor the protective order hearings, peace order hearings, and also the criminal hearings. So that's assault, stalking, rape, etc. And we look at everybody from the clerks to the bailiffs to the interpreters to the judges, and we're trying to catch people doing things right, but also looking for weaknesses in the system, or look at things from a victim's point of view. Well, what might deter her from coming back? And is she getting the strong protection she needs? So when she gets a protective order, does the judge say to the offender, you have to turn in your firearm, and that has to be in the next 2 days. And if you violate this order, you can go to jail. So there are problems sometimes with rude clerks, with bailiffs who can be gruff, especially when women come in with their kids. Overall, they're quite good.
Mm-hmm.
Same with the interpreters, but sometimes we have judges that are telling women they don't need an interpreter when it's really their choice. Being in court is so confusing, even when English is your first language.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. I just want to say that court isn't just about the language, it's form and content. I mean, what's going on in the courtroom, at least in Montgomery County, it has everything to do with everything but the actual testimony. But the judges look at your appearance, how your body language moves. They are looking for anything they can, and then they use it against you. And that is just not right. Is there anything in the report about that? Because what I'm saying is, just to clarify, a lot of men, and this has been there's an editorial in the paper about this that I saw March a year ago, and it's been something that's been brought up now and then, where a man with a personality disorder will come in and he's got a poker face and he does everything right and he completely fools everyone. And she is terrified because she knows that everything is a lie, but the judge doesn't know that, and she's all frazzled and emotional.
Well, the judges do have tough jobs, and we have had judges with demeanor problems occasionally who were rude or supercilious or even sadistic with victims, and those people just should not be on the bench. But I think the majority of judges in district court now really make an effort to give full protective orders. There's more cynicism in circuit court, and actually denials are double the rate of that orders are denied in district court.
Is that right?
Although it's the exact same law.
What's the difference, though, between the courts?
I think there's some cynicism among circuit court judges about whether women might be using protective orders to get custody or using them as part of a divorce. I think judges don't get enough training on domestic violence, and there should be regular training so they would understand that a lot of these high conflict divorces actually have domestic violence as one of their aspects. And in fact, men who are abusers are more likely to file for single custody than are non-offenders.
Absolutely.
It's a way to control victims. So
yeah, that's the fear is also that they'll get it because they're so good in court, and that woman might have just been freaking out over everything that's going on, and an ability to get the truth out, and then the judge also could, say, things that are completely not true. I wouldn't know anything about this. I'm just saying, just what I heard.
yeah.
But
Well,
I mean, I wanted to ask you, female judges and male judges, do they need the same amount of sensitivity training?
Well, I think women bring a certain probably understanding of some issues to the bench, but actually some of our best judges are men, and we have trouble with some of the women judges. So you really can't tell. You really can't tell.
I can certainly believe that, though. Okay. Well, we want to find out what people can do to help the organization, for one thing. When we come back after this break, we are going to talk about how people can get involved in this very important organization and help you to watch the court system and, you know, make it just more fair for everyone.
That's great.
Good
We're
idea.
Desperate for many
kinds?
different kinds of volunteers. So
Good. Information on the volunteering for Court Watch Montgomery and anything else you might want to know and do want to know, I will ask Laurie Duker. So don't go away. We'll be right back in 2.
When you donate goods in response to an international disaster, it's expensive.
They have to cross the sea, pass through customs, be inspected, sorted, then finally delivered.
And often they arrive too late to help, making your good intentions feel a little empty.
There is a better way.
Cash donations are fast, simple, and allow professional relief workers to purchase supplies close at hand.
Cash is best. Learn more at CIDI.org.
It's our duty to serve veterans and military families who serve their country in the most difficult ways imaginable. Together, we can say thank you in so many ways. Small acts of kindness mean more than anything. With our support, veterans and military families can face even the most difficult challenges. Let's honor their service with ours.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Karen Allyn. We're speaking with Laurie Duker, the Executive Director and co-founder of Court Watch Montgomery. Let's talk about the volunteers. You have volunteers. You need a whole lot more. This is really a lot of work.
it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
Monitoring.
And there are just so many needs in Montgomery County. Domestic violence victims need so many things. We need 5 totally different kinds of volunteers.
Okay.
So there's something for everybody.
Okay, what do we need?
Well, we really need monitors. We have 50 people now that go to court. We just ask for 2 mornings a month, but we're looking for people that will go to court, sit and listen. You do need good hearing. Sit and listen
Take
to
notes.
the judge, to take notes. There's a form, and you fill out the same form for every single case. And that's a really interesting job, and that's where most volunteers start, so you really
Yeah.
understand the court issues.
Yeah, yeah.
But then we also need people who like data and like Excel and putting data into spreadsheets, because we do about 500 to 700 cases a year. So to really analyze that data, we need it all put into
IT types. You need IT types.
Exactly.
This is
So
for a very good cause, too. Okay.
it is.
Number
It's
3.
a great cause. Number 3 is community advocates, and there are all kinds of things along those lines. There are lots of gaps in services in the county, and we need to educate people about those and get them talking to their county council members, talking to the Maryland legislators. We don't have any supervised visitation centers or safe places where parents can exchange their kids Fridays and Sundays
And
for
that's
visits.
a fantastic idea. A neutral place, in other words, where
Exactly.
drop off, pick up, it's not at anybody's house, it's just a neutral place.
That's right. The moms stay safe, the kids are not re-traumatized, but we need, most people don't know that that's a gap. And we need to be talking to people in the state agencies about it, trying to get some state funds, and also focusing county on it. We need people that'll talk to community groups. You know who I don't see in court are a lot of very high-risk groups like people with disabilities or people from the LGBT community. We know they're at high risk, and yet they're not coming to court to get protection. So we need folks who are willing to spend time talking to some nonprofits in the county, educating them, maybe bringing them to court to see what the process is. So lots of interesting
A lot of
community
hand-holding. Is that number 4 or is that number
activity.
5?
Oh,
I've
let's
lost count.
see.
Okay.
I think that's even, that may just be 3. And then, so we've got monitoring, yes, data, advocacy. We have a lot of research needs. Sometimes we get the CD for a hearing, and we need somebody to listen at home and do some transcribing of exactly what the judge said when there were problems.
Very
or,
important.
Yeah, or you can go to the courthouse and read lots of the records, and it's fascinating, really. People enjoy that
People's lives.
a
It
lot.
beats the Kardashians any day. 'Cause
I think so.
Unfortunately, it's true.
Yeah.
Which,
And then we've got some behind-the-scenes jobs. We could use help with the website, social media.
Organizational, administrational, and
Yes.
social media is huge.
It's huge, and we really need to get the word out better than we are. We can use help with fundraising. We're all volunteer. So anybody that's interested in helping do some community fundraising events, that kind of thing would be,
Right.
we welcome with open arms.
Okay.
So,
Let's go back for 1 second to the court monitor, exactly. That person, are they allowed into all these trials and
Absolutely.
proceedings?
yes, all the hearings are open. Occasionally, if it's a very sensitive subject or if a child is going to testify or maybe the victim is very uncomfortable, we'll leave the courtroom because we don't want, that's not our goal. We
Right.
certainly don't want to present a barrier to anybody seeking care. But the vast majority of the hearings are open. And it's a good thing, so we can see what our judges are doing.
Right, and as I said, they're open-minded to hearing your reports. I wonder, which is good. Have there been things that you've told them to do that they actually are doing?
Absolutely. We've had really fairly astounding success, I think. For the first time, there's an audio tape that's in English and in Spanish at the beginning of the day that explains what's going to happen, and I think that helps put people at ease.
Yeah.
They understand that they can get a CD of their hearing, they know how to appeal their case, and that that's free. So that's a big change. Judges are telling offenders to turn in their guns more. They're telling them it's a crime to violate. So we've seen some real improvement.
And sensitivity-wise as well?
Yes, definitely some improvement.
Even though there's a ways to go?
In demeanors. No, absolutely. I think the bailiffs on the whole do a great job, are very kind with petitioners.
I meant the judges. The judges in their language, in their disposition, in their impatience at the way somebody testifying might be testifying, because I find that the court is an elite world and that everyone needs to conform to that world. And I think that that's not necessarily something that the outside person would understand going in. And by the time they do, their case is lost, and that affects the future of their children.
It's definitely scary to go to court. There's no way around it. But the county provides victim advocates, and they're also pro bono lawyers, so they can help a lot. I think a lot of the judges make a good faith effort to be very respectful and to ask the basic questions, things they need to know to grant orders. So I think if you come and watch the courts, I think a lot of people's reaction would be, wow, this is a great system. But once you watch 20 hearings, you start to see things and you start to think, oh boy, well, this is good most of the time. But boy, when a problem happens, that woman is really in danger and she's not going to come back and get the help she needs. Or she gets a protective order, but wow, she gets no emergency child support. Well, how is she going to pay the rent?
Right.
These things make or break women's search for self-sufficiency and independence.
And self-esteem and self-worth.
That's right.
Which they need to bring up their children, to model something for their children.
That's right.
All
And
right.
the kids aren't getting counseling. Offenders often aren't getting counseling. All those things we look at. And we're going to be taking a hard look at the money issues in the coming year because that's really where the rubber meets the road for a lot of victims. They need adequate
Absolutely.
emergency child support.
Just going to court costs a bundle. I mean, there are pro bono, but not for everyone.
No,
And
that's right.
There's conditions placed on the pro bono. And it is very hard to go back to court for whatever reason you need to, whether it's that peace order or it's something else that the court said, So the problems with the husband, lover, boyfriend, whatever, can be mounting all along and just not be enough to get where they need to go to court. Does that make any sense? What I'm saying
Absolutely.
is it costs a lot of money unless there's egregious violations, which are provable. People don't even bother to go to court. That's what I was trying to say.
Yes. In fact, about half of victims that come in to get protective orders come without lawyers. So that's very tough. It's very tough because you don't know when is the right time to bring up money, and if you bring it up too early, the judge may say, this is not about money, this is about safety.
And I don't know if judges are fond of pro se anyway. Are they so?
No, I think they would prefer that all the respondents and petitioners had had lawyers.
I think that there's definitely a feeling where if you go pro se, you're going to lose. There's just that feeling, which I've heard around the courthouse a lot. In any case, all right, do you offer training?
Absolutely. The first thing we do is send people to court with a mentor twice to make sure that they enjoy it, that they can hear, that they find it interesting. Then we do a full morning of training, and then you're always paired with another monitor to improve accuracy. So it's a great way to learn, and we do strategy sessions 4 times a year where the volunteers hash out data issues, but also problems we're seeing in court and what we should be doing to address weaknesses. So you're really part of important social change. It's exciting.
Yeah, and you're making good on stuff. You're doing good out there, which is good. And
We have a long way to go, but we're seeing progress,
Right.
so
I mean,
that feels good.
the court it's like a foreign system on so many levels for so many people, especially the most needy, I think, or they can't speak English, or they have multitude of children and no income and an abusive partner or something. So I think without you, it would be a lot worse in Montgomery County. Another thing is, do volunteers have any fear of being involved in any way, hurt, involved, in a negative way?
No, they really don't. Occasionally, in very rare instances, some scary things happen in courtrooms. There are tempers, but the bailiffs are extremely good. There are extra bailiffs in domestic violence hearings because the judges know that sometimes they're volatile relationships.
And some people can be unstable, and you don't know what they're going to do. They might have
Absolutely.
appeared to be one way and are actually, in fact,
Yeah.
another.
But it's very safe, and we don't have volunteers talk to either victims or offenders because we don't want to interfere with the court process.
Right.
So
They just
you won't be
stand
talking
back
to
and-
the parties. You're really impartial and just sitting and monitoring. Sometimes the judges ask ask the volunteer, "How did I do today?"
Really?
Yes. So there's sometimes a little interaction.
That's
but
wonderful. That's
yeah.
actually great. Okay, how does one volunteer? What's the process that we have to go to tell people to go to Court Watch Montgomery? I know you have a great Facebook page.
Thank you.
So you go to Facebook and see Court Watch Montgomery on Facebook. That's for one thing.
That's great.
And you're
Or
on Twitter.
on Twitter, and you can go to the website. Probably the best is the website. There's a volunteer section, tells more about all the jobs, the different jobs that we need filled. There's a 2-page application right on our website, courtwatchmontgomery.org.
Yeah, I was just going to make sure that I remembered it correctly. Courtwatchmontgomery.org. There's a lot of information on courtwatchmontgomery.org, correct? But
That's right, and we'd love to have applications, and then we interview each person, and then we get you to court.
And also on the screen is the phone number, which we just saw, which I will just say again, 240-777.
I'm sorry,
240-606-6620. Sorry.
That's
I
right.
was going to say the wrong number. All right, so 240-606-6620. Okay. Also, there's courtwatchmontgomery@gmail.com in case anybody has a fast pen, but it's simply Court Watch Montgomery everything. Facebook, the website is courtwatchmontgomery.org. The email is courtwatchmontgomery@gmail.com. I just want to tell people that it's just to remind people that if you're in crisis, call 911. Absolutely call 911. Eventually, these people can get involved, but you got to call 911 if you're in immediate danger, if you know someone who's in danger. That seems obvious, but just to remind people.
And the county has a lot of great services, the Family Justice Center, we have a good shelter. The courts don't care about immigration status at all. You will not be asked at court.
That's an
what your
important
status
question,
is.
yeah.
It's important to know. So and there are victim advocates at court who can help.
Yeah, so once again, if you're an immigrant or you've been here for a short time, your status does not matter in court. I did not know that, and that's a good reason for people to fear to go to court.
A lot of people stay away because they worry about that, and it's really not an issue. So you can come to court, you can get interpreters, and you can get help getting protection.
Okay, so that's good. Very good. All right, courtwatchmontgomery.org. Just before we go, Laurie, how did you get into this real quick?
I used to work for the county as a victim advocate, and I went with about 1,000 women to court to get their protective orders. I did danger assessments, helped them get into shelter, and I just kept seeing the same problems over and over again in courtrooms. Many times I was proud of the judges and proud to see the American justice system, but too often I just saw problems with process that were just not giving victims what they need, and then the same victims come back, and it doesn't have to be that way.
Okay, and that's why you co-founded, all right, Court Watch Montgomery. Yeah. Laurie Duker, Executive Director and co-founder of Court Watch Montgomery. Thank you so very much. Don't forget to go to Connecting Our Community. The blog is on the website of mymcmedia.org. That's Montgomery Community Media. And I am Karen Allyn. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.